everybody's understaffed. Restaurants are closing on certain days because we don't have it to take care of them all. And you say you want social distancing, however, we can't socially distance them. And when they come into the restaurant, they don't want to wear masks because where they live, they don't have to. And it's like babysitting all the time. Like I'm babysitting all the time at my job, and I'm telling them, and I'm bleaching everything and telling them not to sit at dirty tables and not to do these things and not to do all these things. So how do we pull back from this when our hospital has more cases than we've had, and our numbers are going up, but we're letting everybody come in?
So you're saying we should close the borders again?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm saying that if cruise ships were probably not the best way to go to let them back in.
Well, I mean, when you look at it, right? So thank you for your question, and I'm glad that our problem is too much tourists. It's a lot better problem than too little tourists. The cruise ships are 100% staff vaccinated and 97%.
I was heard that they did not need to be vaccinated, that they only needed a negative COVID test.
Yeah, 97%. We actually have access to the records at the Department of Health. 97% vaccinated. The 3% not vaccinated are mostly children and people who can't take the vaccine because of some other medical reason.
I'm curious where the burst in the numbers came from if everybody needs to come in for the negative COVID test.
More than likely the Delta variant, and I think that's why even in this crowd right now it makes me nervous, right? Because when you think about it, when is the last time you heard somebody cough?
It doesn't matter. People
Can I
cough
finish,
no
ma'am?
matter what.
Can I finish, ma'am?
Sure.
Yeah. You asked your question. When is the last time have you heard anybody cough? People are not coughing. People are wearing the masks, and yet this thing seems to be spreading at an incredible pace. How does a small place like the BVI go from like 2 cases to 1,600 cases in a week without people coughing over one another? That means that it has to be airborne of some kind,
okay,
and that it's spreading like that. So when you're talking about one specific part of our tourism industry, which is restaurants. There are other parts. There are hotels, there are jewelry stores, there are excursionists, there are day charters, there are week charters. There are a lot of different parts of our industry. And while the restaurants have been doing really well, the jewelry stores have not been doing so well. Our taxi drivers are not doing as well as they were before. And there are a lot of other little businesses in retail that depend on this, that depend on these tourists, and depend on the tourists for.
If I only get one question, my response to you is that people cough and sneeze. It's a human natural response to anything in the world, whether it's allergies or not. I believe, I'm sorry.
You're not listening. You're not listening.
I am listening, and I work in the industry where I've literally been waiting on people the whole time.
You're not listening. You're not listening. I'm saying people are not coughing and sneezing, and this thing is still spreading like wildfire. So we have to be able to do our due control, and there's way too many people in such a small space now. If the rain has stopped, if we could just spread out a little bit, it would be better. Because I don't know how this variant, we haven't had any verification as yet, but without a doubt, we have the Delta variant in our numbers right now, and it's spreading through the island. So we really need to be careful, especially if you unvaccinated. Next question.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. As I started, we are going to ask everyone to be respectful with your questions. You are allowed one question. We have a number of persons here tonight who really want to get a question in. So please ask your one question. You can have a seat after your question is asked so that it can be answered thoroughly, and then the next person can come up to the mic and ask their question. We'll have our next question. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you, Governor, for all you've done. Thank you, LT. I see you often. And the others who are here. I want to thank you for the Department of Health and all the information, a plethora of information. So that's a good way to spend the COVID money. I like that. the person that won the $100,000. I wish it were me, but it wasn't, but probably the next time. My question is, what is the policy, or what can you tell me about Envision?
That's a good question. So the Envision program is rife with problems. It's probably our sorest spot. We have finally, I don't want to go through the excuses of why the program is a problem, but I will say this: no good deed goes unpunished. The previous governor wanted our local contractors to have a good shot at being able to be employed and make money, which I support. So instead of handing it off to one big contractor, we have 40 contractors. Compounding that issue is the fact that every single one of these homes to be rebuilt is treated like a federal project. They have to be assessed for asbestos, for mold, and any other kind of contaminant even before any work's done. Any of you who have done home repairs knows that once you start doing a repair, all kinds of other repairs become evident. The company that we have hired did not do a A1 job of assessing these homes. So even when we send contractors out, we're finding more and more problems. We have finally hit a point now, I think we're at 40 homes now that are under repair out of the 400 that have actually qualified, where we can create, we have enough pricing so we can create standard pricing. The next move is to send out 100 at a time, so those homes will be repaired at a faster clip. We started at about 800 homes, and a lot of people were eliminated because they already got money. So let's say your roof costs $150,000 to repair. If your insurance gave you $70,000 and you got a loan from SBDC for $40,000, the federal government is saying you have to put up 110 out of the $150,000 for the repair. Because people had already spent this money, a lot of people got disqualified from the program. We're still plagued with people who have problems with deeding, whether they live in the house that their mother left to them, but it belongs to them and their brother and their sister. If the house is not in your name, we can't do the repair either. So we're moving forward and we're getting these repairs out. We totally fail in Envision. It started bad. We had a rough start, but I think we got to a clip now where we're going to be able to repair homes faster. I just want to say something about programs. Every single time a new program comes up, because I'll have other questions come up, it's not a matter of just like giving out money. So if the federal government comes out, unemployment is a good one. In a normal year, we give out about $8 million in unemployment. We have given out $142 million in 1 year. That's like what? 12 times the normal amount that we usually give out. And when people say, well, there are people being paid, if they haven't paid, let's say, $2 million in claims, that's less than a 1% error. Of course, that doesn't mean anything to those people who haven't gotten paid, but we're trying to do that. So every single program, every single unemployment program we have come out, we got to hire people. We got to get a policy approved. Then we got to get a software changes. All of these things takes time. It's like our rental program. We got $21 million first to do our rental program, but we just can't hand out the money. There has to be a plan written, and then the HUD has to approve it. And once HUD approves it, then we have to get applications in. We have to write software in order to be able to take it. We got to put up websites. We got to do marketing so people know that the program is available. We've started over 20 new programs since the onset of this, and every single one of them is a new thing that we have to do. We're not like other states. Governor Cuomo gets a program, he gives it to the mayor of New York City, he's done. The money is not his anymore, he doesn't have to worry about it. In the Virgin Islands, we have to do the work. The 3 stimulus payments, over $226 million. Governor Cuomo, he don't have to do anything. Governor Bryant, we got to create a program. We got to send a plan to Treasury. They got to approve it. Then we got to get the money. Then we got to, our system is not computerized, but you have electronic file returns, so we can't send it to you. We got to figure out how we're going to distribute it. We got to explain it. And that's for every single program. That's first stimulus, second stimulus, third stimulus, first PEBT, second EBT, third EBT, 6 programs for unemployment insurance. Now we have the child tax credit. We bringing that up now. That's $300 every month from now till December for every single child. That's another program. $8 million for mortgage assistance. We got to put together a network for another program. With the same employees we've had with less employees than we've had since John DeYoung was in office in 2007. We actually have less employees in the government now than he had then, and we have 20 times the work. And just like this young lady is saying, we can't find people to work for us who have the expertise either. I know I answer questions long, but I kind of want to explain to you why we have such a hard time with little resources that we have. In 2017, MAP had a capital improvement budget of $20 million for the year. We have already issued $400 million in projects for this year alone. That's 20 times what he had. And we're going to do that next year, the year after, and the year after that. God willing, y'all re-elect me, I'll be in charge. So when we try to crank these things out, we're trying to show the public, like, all of these stopgaps. So if we want to, instead of paving 1 road this year, we're paving 20 roads this year. That means that we got to get 20 new inspectors, 20 people to design it, and then 20 people to come out, get it to procurement. It gets stuck there because we got to expand that staff too, because every single body has 20 projects that they're trying to push through this week. And then once it gets out, it gets to the AG. The AG got to approve it. They don't have enough attorneys, so it gets stuck there. And then it goes to government house. And of course, you know I get it out quick, right? But then it's got to go back to property procurement, and you got to prepare the 10 days notice. And then once that goes out, you got to get paid. So people are saying, we getting paid slowly. Well, yeah, because we have 30 times the contracts, 20 times the contracts being paid every single day. And we keep getting more money, and we keep getting more contracts. So I had a meeting with the legislature the other day. I said, listen, we have $500 million in the bank right now, right? We have till 2026 to spend it. We have budget makeup for every single year. We have water line projects and all kinds of things planned. But we don't even have time to really start spending that money because we have so much money now that we're trying to get out in projects. So what we're trying to do is partner with the private sector and give them some money so they could help us get some of this done. Because, you know, at the end of the day, there's but so much money you could put through that government pipeline at one time. Next question. I'm going to try to answer my questions shorter.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to digress a little bit with your indulgence.
Sure.
My name is Lorna Batiste. I'm a St. Jonian. I'm a 5th generation St. Jonian. And I'd like to bring to your attention a situation that has created dissension and has been allowed to go unchecked, perpetuating itself and establishing civil rights and discriminatory practices. Recognizing that the United States federal government oversees our government to some degree, it is proposed that both governments are at fault to some degree with regards to what it is I'm going to present, and I'm hoping that it's received in the vein that it's intended. First of all, questions, just to think about. First of all, are you familiar with 39 Statute 1706, also called the Convention between Denmark and the United States of America? It's also referred to as the treaty. Something else to think about. Are you familiar with Treaty Series 629? And these are things that every legislature, every senator should have knowledge of. Every educator should have knowledge of. Are you familiar with Section 8 of the Revised Organic Act of 1954? Are you aware that the United States federal government and the government of the Virgin Islands have regularly violated and allowed to be violated the stipulations as identified in the treaty, as it specifically refers to Article 6. Article 6 basically stipulates that those persons owning real property and retaining all of their rights and property, including the right to sell or dispose of such property or its proceeds, in case they remain in the islands, they shall continue until otherwise provided to enjoy all the private, municipal, and religious rights and liberties secured to them by the laws now in force. If the present laws are altered, the said inhabitants shall not thereby be placed in a less favorable position in respect to the above mentioned rights and liberties that they now enjoy. This language requires no interpretation. It is direct, specific, and ambiguous in intent, and as further, it is in fact stipulated to. Issue number one. Our property taxes are no longer enjoyed under the stipulated to agreement and pre-treaty period. And during the pre-treaty period, taxes were pennies on the acre. Under the post-treaty or the period of time after the treaty, our taxes are now thousands per acre. And we find ourselves owing and trying to pay property taxes that we cannot afford, which ultimately results in our properties being sold at auction. Has this practice not placed those persons in a less favorable position? Another question. Okay, pick one.
I mean, I think the question you're asking about is property taxes. I think the Lieutenant Governor did a good job of explaining two measures that he did that allows you to reduce the property tax of your house in St. John. I think the upper limit is, let me talk for yourself. $750,000 is the upper limit. You could actually, I think, so it's a multiplier. So if the federal land in St. John is, let's say 60% of the land or 65% of the land, it actually reduces your taxes by that amount, correct? So it's, I don't know if people know about it. He actually supported that bill, sponsored the bill, and passed it to help St. Johnians alleviate their tax credit. And the tax fight is not over as yet. But when you talk about enjoyments, I always like to talk taxes with people, right? Because in the Virgin Islands, out of, when, this is an old statistic, bear with me, out of all the income tax we pay, 89 people pay 66% of all the taxes. And I say this all the time because I want people to understand. Out of 33,000 filers, 89 people pay 66% of the taxes. If you add another 3,000 people, it's almost 80% of the taxes. So essentially, the vast majority of the taxes in the Virgin Islands are paid by 10% of the people. So when we look at the roads and we say, why isn't the road paved? Why is the power plant not maintained? Why are the lights not on? It's because we don't pay enough taxes into the government in order to maintain the pleasures that we enjoy. We have a rare opportunity, right, to redo our islands and put efficient lighting and put surfaces that are going to last for another 20, 30 years. But this administration's goal is to do the things that empower people so we can have a larger tax base so it's sustainable. Things like workforce development, free education at the university, bringing health care and Medicaid and Medicare to every single Virgin Islander that's needed, adding the business consortium piece where now if you're a business, you can get together and insure together and get rates as you couldn't do it before. Those are the little things that we're doing, supporting small business loans through our state small business initiative, putting up $30 million for gap financing to bring new companies to the Virgin Islands, supporting our agriculture by creating agribusiness centers, creating home ownership opportunities so Virgin Islanders have assets by buying down the cost of houses so people can finally have affordable housing. So those are the kind of things that we're doing in order to make sure that we honor those treaties and make sure that taxes are controllable. There's some other things that we would like to do. Those things are powered by the legislature in terms of tax policy and being able to reduce the liability on St. Johnians because we clearly understand the cost of living in St. John. That's why I come here, I go to the grocery store, I talk to people. I can't imagine the pressure of the taxes. And every time I talk to the Secretary of Interior and anybody from Interior, I remind them, y'all give us $30,000 a year for 75% of St. John and every single other federal piece of land in the Virgin Islands, and we need a better cut of the pie so the people of St. John could get a break. Thank you.
Mr. Batiste, I would just like to add, in addition to what the governor said, because you have written me about this issue, and we know that it's not a simple issue, and it's an issue that impacts land ownership by native Virgin Islanders, and it even extends to issues like the New Herrnhut properties that are in dispute and I think are presently the point of litigation. My response to you is that there are competing legal interpretations of the treaty. So one would be that it references inhabitants. So one question would be, does it mean the inhabitants and their descendants into perpetuity, right? That would be one question. I cannot, as the Lieutenant Governor, as the arm of the government that is responsible for collecting property taxes, I cannot make a distinction between property owners based on place of birth, ancestry, the number of generations that they have been in the territory. I believe that these really have to be the subject matter of litigation, as the Moravians have done and are doing, that will ultimately resolve the questions that are connected to status and are connected to the Virgin Islands having its own constitution to address issues like the ones you raised. So the tax collector, I hate the role, I hate the title, but that's what I am, cannot respond to that question by giving you the relief that you desire. But if we are ordered by a court to evaluate the ways by which we assess the taxes, we will be responsible for doing that. So I thank you for the question, and I recognize that it's a question that a lot of people carry in their hearts because it really has to do with issues of ancestry and the treatment of these people from Denmark and by purchase to the United States. So I understand that it's a sensitive issue. I don't in any way would treat it as one to dismiss, but it's beyond me. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, and I respect that. And Governor Bryant, I think you misunderstood what it is I was saying. I think, Mr. Roach, you kind of hit it pretty much on the head. The issue is not all of the things that you referenced. The issue is that their articles were negotiated specifically, and with regards to your particular concern with regards to who it's applicable to, the treaty specifically recognizes and identifies people that had property owners. So the question that you now raise would be, there you go. So if the properties that we're speaking about never left those families from before the treaty and they're still owned by the families, it would seem to me that ownership chain would in fact be continued to be allowed. But in either event, Article 11 of the treaty identifies what's called an arbitration process. And this is what I'm trying to bring to you guys as our leaders. Article 11, I do believe, identifies that anytime there's a dispute, and this may be verbatim in the interpretation. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. Anytime that particular situation comes up, we are allowed to take it to the World Court in The Hague. And I'm asking that this body look at those situations and those opportunities, and let's have a conversation about trying to resolve this issue in the best interest of everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we can.
Sheila,
Sure, LT.
I just also wanted to add, I think you also raised a very important point about the treatment of property, taxes, and delinquencies. And every time we go before the legislature and we talk about delinquencies and the payments of taxes, the question always is, well, what about auctions? Why are you not conducting auctions? And I think, Mr. Batiste, you really hit on the point that we understand that our role is not to dispossess the people of their land and property. Our role is to keep our government functioning, but it is not to dispossess the people of property. And that is why we have had no auctions throughout the course of this administration, and we have worked with property owners in many, many ways to discharge their obligation, short of taking any action like that on properties. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Now, I'm really trying not to be the time police, but we have less than an hour left in the town hall. We could easily spend 5 hours discussing all of the issues. but we want to make sure that as many persons as possible could ask questions. So please keep your questions as concise and succinct as possible so that we can get an answer and get to the next person. We have a lot of persons in attendance today that I'm sure have concerns that they'd like to share and questions that they'd like to ask. We really appreciate you being here. So we'll now go to the next question. Thank you.
All right. Hi, good night. My name is Giselia. I'm from St. Thomas, but I've been living here for the past 4 months or so. I'm just a first generation Virgin Islander. But I just wanted to say, you know, one good thing you have done, we have to give credit where credit is due. You have not lifted the mask mandate, so I commend, you know, your administration for that. Yeah. You touched on about, you know, how taxes and how then that affects the power plant. I have been supporting people and organizations in St. Thomas that have been fighting the recent rate increases from Wapa. Wapa has really been, you know, messing with businesses. We cannot afford these rates, and I do know that there's been some issues between maybe what you would want to do and what the legislature would want to do. You said that, I do know that, for example, Wapa hasn't had their financial statements, and they recently submitted their 2019 financial statements, so I think that maybe has to do with why the power plant hasn't been functioning well, because, you know, they have shoddy accounting practices, or that's what people think. So what is your solution to fix the Wapa issue? Because I know that you don't want them to have oversight, but what do you think would be the best thing to do?
So, first of all, thank you, Giselle? Giselia,
Yeah.
for the question. So, people misunderstand the administration's or my support for WAPA. The first thing I want to make clear is that WAPA already has 2 levels of oversight. They have a board, a governing board that consists of people from all walks of life: engineers, lawyers, business people, procurement people. It's already set in stone. The legislature approves those people. They go through the legislature and they get the ability to approve. If they don't want an attorney there, they could say, no, we don't want an attorney. So they already have the power to do that. The legislation that was submitted to my office for WAPA seeks to disempower the government of the Virgin Islands, or the governor of the Virgin Islands, from control over WAPA. So what it is, I'm not the executive director of WAPA. Yet, as governor of the Virgin Islands, I am responsible for every single entity. So you want to take away the power of me to control an entity, but you still want to blame me for everything that's gone wrong there. WAPA has been a problem in the Virgin Islands for 54 years, at least. Everybody knows that. To expect anyone to fix WAPA in 2.5 years is incredibly opportunistic, or optimistic rather. Why do I support WAPA in trying to get them where they need to be? I'll explain to you for a couple of reasons. The first one, in the last 30 years, we've rebuilt our entire electrical grid 3 times. Hugo, Marilyn, Maria. If we had a private company, FEMA wouldn't have paid for that. The private company would be responsible for billing that back. In the last 20 years, the government has carried a bill at WAPA for $20 million on average. How do you expect a company to be able to do what they're supposed to do if they're carrying a $20 million bid? Why don't we sell WAPA? I would love to. All my troubles would be gone. You could complain to Virgin Islands Electric or whoever would buy it. One issue though, WAPA has over $2 billion in infrastructure that FEMA gave them. If we sell WAPA, we lose the $2 billion in infrastructure. For the first time, we have generation projects that are already signed contracts that are going to put a generator in Cruz Bay and battery backup, in Cruz Bay, another one in Coral Bay with battery backup. So St. John now will never be isolated again like it was during the storm. It would have its own generating unit for the first time. For the first time, we're going to have, St. John is the first place for all of the composite poles to have been finished, well, almost finished. They're the furthest along. Water Island is finished. The underground project, all of this is FEMA funded, is being put in. We have a $100 million solar unit we're putting in St. Croix. We have a microgrid.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but FEMA and HUD told WAPA they won't give them the money until they fix their billing practices. Am I wrong or am I?
No, that's not what they said. They gave them the money, but they have conditional things like they have to do, like as you mentioned, they had to turn in their audits on time. They finished their 2019. They're working on their 2020. And remember, FEMA money and HUD money is two different sets of money. FEMA has not put those requirements on WAPA.
Just HUD.
HUD has. And so HUD just issued the rules, which included the upgrade of electrical systems, and because they recognize the tremendous stress that our power grid system is under. So we have over $2 billion worth of projects that will not only make WAPA reliable, but it will make it cheaper because we're going to have a renewable. Why is your bill so high? Back in 2012, when HES shut down, WAPA was I think the light bill then was like 52 cents a kilowatt hour. It's at 41 cents now. WAPA didn't have a place to get fuel from. I ain't telling you because I hear so. I was sitting at the table when we were going to be out of fuel in the Virgin Islands for 3 months. At the time, we were paying $250 million a year in fuel costs. We didn't have any money to set up any new fuel power. WAPA got into a contract with Vitol on a short-term, high-interest loan that they planned to refinance. What happened? So 2012, Vitol came and built the propane plants. It was guaranteed to take the price down to 33 cents a kilowatt hour. And it went to 33 cents a kilowatt hour. And
again, I don't mean to interrupt you, but just so we can wrap it up, I just wanted to know what your plan was.
I just told you, we have a whole rebuild. We've already got the generators in place. They're on order, but it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be able to, your equipment has lead time and work has to be done, and we're moving in that direction. I just like to explain it because people think that there's nothing anybody here in the legislature or anywhere can do that'll make WAPA fix overnight. It's gonna take time. We have the resources, we have the money, we just have to stay on course and finish it out instead of changing the game every 10 minutes.
Thank you, Governor. So I know that you are inclined to direct all of your questions to the governor. We also have representatives here from the Department of Planning and Natural Resources, the Department of Public Works, VIPD, the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. We have our Lieutenant Governor here as well. So with your questions, we have departments that could answer any concerns that you have. Again, I ask, please, that you ask your question, allow the response, and you may go back to your seat after your question is asked. We have a number of persons waiting to ask questions. Please keep your questions as concise as possible.
Governor, Lieutenant Governor, cabinet members and staff, and fellow St. Johnians, welcome. My name's B.J. Harris, and I too am a first-generation Virgin Islander. Children are our future. I'm always very concerned with what children see and hear and experience. Back in the 80s, we got cable TV. It made a bad difference with our children. You could see the difference in their behaviors back then. I know that we have laws on the books that require people to cover up when they leave the beach. This is for Mr. Martinez and perhaps for Leona, tourism and the police department. Could the tourism department get us a little brochure that says, please cover up, it's the law, with a nice little picture with a slash through it? Could the police department please help to enforce the law? Because some of the things that I've seen in Cruz Bay, I've seen more skin in Cruz Bay in the last 6 months than I've seen in 42 years.
Yes. Okay. We can police. Yes, we can police and do those things. Very simple. All right. again, enforcement is our job. Each one of us enforces. I was not aware of this issue, but we'll take a look into it and we'll enforce.
To go right into our next question. Again, we have about 35 more minutes. We're going to squeeze in as many questions as possible. Please, let's keep a flow going.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Maxine Plaskett. I'm a native St. Jonian, and I'm a veteran, so 15 years. However, my question is, I wanted to speak to the governor, but it takes me this long to present myself. However, I heard you talk about asbestos, and stated, I don't know, correct me if I stated wrong, but when you're going to repair a unit, you must do inspection to find out whether the unit has asbestos. Am I right or wrong?
There's no Virgin Islands requirement, but for the federal money, yes, we have to do that.
Okay. However, can you randomly select out of 25 units in St. John, one unit prior repairing a unit before 2017 and stated that the family has to be evicted on the street because the house have asbestos? How do asbestos occur? Is it that the unit them are built, all the units them are built with the same material, and they are liable maybe to get asbestos in those units? Can you just pinpoint a unit and stated that your unit have asbestos, knowing that you did repair prior to Irma, and because the person speak up and try to reach for authority assistance, the government feel that because they have authority, they could just put you on the street with your family and children because they can do so, because that family don't have the power. And then, virtually, they were in school. However, that put a tone on those children that they might have to repeat, because they state that they don't care whether those children is in virtual learning. However, that family is relocated, has nowhere to go, and they're going through this for years. They told us that we has to get out so they can knock down the unit right away because the house have asbestos. However, it has been 8 months now, and the government has not done anything to resolve that issue. Okay? So I'd like to know what is the protocol in place as a veteran seeking help and to find a place on their own so nobody don't have to put you back on the street. However, was granted land from their family so they could put something on that land. Okay? So I would like to know if there's any protocol in place, like grants, as a veteran that could assist us whether we want to contain a home to put on the land so that we don't have the embarrassment on St. John as a native St. Jonian.
Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you. I don't know the specifics of your case, but there are veterans money in the Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority that allow veterans to build and develop properties. I know because I called there about it a couple of months ago. There's about $2.33 million there because somebody called me about veteran priority in land, and we don't do set-asides for veterans anymore because the VI law says 10% of all the development is to be for veterans, but veterans haven't been showing up there. So there is money at Housing Finance Authority for that.
I understand what you're saying, and I know the statement that make your questions mild, but however, if those people are Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority, and you were saying that they are the one who give you grants, okay? And if they are the issue that why the family is on the street, because they take 8+ years to repair the home properly for a veteran to own a home. And because you speak up to authorities they feel they could put you on the street with the children then because they're in charge.
Could you share your information with Shakima so we could get to the bottom of that and find out what's going on? Because I can't answer that question without, some more specific.
I would finalize my question. However, I share this issue with several authorities. Okay? I also sent a letter with you, and Senator Payne stated that he delivered it to you personally. So all our problem, many people know our problem and did nothing. Okay? The house in George Simmons Terrace, I'm not ashamed to say, is battled down by VI Housing Finance Authority, and they just pinpoint my unit and stated that they have asbestos. Okay? And then you had to get up in December so they could start they knocked down the unit and build it back because they had FEMA money. Okay? And however, within the FEMA outline, they put in things that were pre-existing repairs on the result, and stated was happening from OMA, which that is illegal to get no money. I just want a solution. What can we do? And where can we get grant to have a decent place for my 4 grandchildren, 5 years old, 9 years old, 11 years old, and 13 years old, and myself, which is disability, okay? And now the house is boarded down in George Simmons Terrace, and not a cent, nobody did nothing because they don't care. They have the power, and if we don't have the power, so they take advantage of us. This has to stop.
So
I'm St. Jordan, I'm a veteran, served 15 years. And no solution was done. So I gave everybody all my information. No one did nothing.
So, ma'am, we're going to do something about that. We understand your passion. We understand your concern. That should not happen to anyone. Our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. Kevin Rodriguez, he's going to take your information, but you can't walk away if you want a solution. You need to provide him with your information. You have the governor and the lieutenant governor here as witnesses. We're going to take your information, ma'am. No additional comments. We're going to take your information and we're going to follow up. I have additional persons. If you don't want to provide the information to whom I'm telling you to, then ma'am, we won't be able to assist you. We're going to have, just to gauge because of time, how many persons in our audience have a question to ask? Okay, so you understand that there are multiple persons who have questions. I have this gentleman right here. No, we don't have a line because persons are staying in their seat. So I'm going to go to this gentleman, right? And then we have 2 on this side, and then you, ma'am. I am monitoring. If you do have a question, we will try our best to get to you. But the only way to do that is to keep your questions short. Allow the answer, sit back down, and have the next person ask their question. We have our administrator and our deputy chief of staff. They will take your information if we need to follow up and if we need to further look into your concerns. So, ma'am, there are 2 other persons after this gentleman, and then we'll get to you.
Good evening, Governor and St. Jonian. My name is Harris Kramer. I'm living here as a volunteer, and before I get to my question, I must share with you that you have come to our assistance, especially with the shots in the arms. I called you on a Saturday evening, you got the Commissioner of Health, and within a week, we were able to do 240 shots in 6 hours and show that. And we thank you for that. Also, my main question is going to reflect one of the other ladies BJ brought up about tourism. We are a tourism-based economy, but most people are not behaving that way. They are riding turtles. They are affecting our wildlife in the ocean. They're leaving poopy diapers in our beaches. They're smoking. They're leaving plastic straws, plastic bags, and they're using toxic sunscreen. Now, we're talking about enforcement. These are already banned items. Some of these were banned. Importation, which means the U.S. Customs are not enforcing the laws of the land. And the governor, kudos to you, you line item vetoed when a personal interest was trying to override this sunscreen ban. And sunscreen may appear to be a small item, but effective of coral or marine life, and we will not have tourists in another 5 to 10 years if all the plastic bags and plastic straws. Yesterday I had lunch at a restaurant here with the deputy commissioner, and they have plastic straws. So the question is, what can you do to implement? The tourism has failed to educate the public, which I've been asking for a while to get it done. So what can we do? We will raise some money if you need money to get the message out, just like somebody coming here, get COVID vaccine. When they book the ticket, tell them code of conduct. You cannot do this in our beaches. You cannot use this toxic sunscreen. It's simple. We will help you. We have a lot of people volunteering willing to help. Finally, Governor, let's make this happen.
Thank you. I mean, you said it right there. We just have to go about and get it done. We've been a little distracted with COVID and everything else that's been going on, trying to keep our beaches from being super spreader centers, but we'll get on it. I don't think Customs is enforcing that, but they don't enforce local laws. So we got to figure out a way for us to make sure that we don't have those sunscreens coming into the islands.
Thank you so much. So what we're gonna do after this gentleman here, just so we have a sense of order, we have this lady in the striped black and white shirt, and then if you have a question, we have a line on this side. So please make your way to the line to ask your question. Again, one question per person, an actual question, not a narrative or comments, an actual question so that we can get to the next person. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening, Governor Bryant, Lieutenant Governor Roach,
Good evening.
distinguished guests, Pastor Isaac, members of the St. John community.
Ask your question, please, straight to the question.
Yeah, I am the managing member of Serious Development. We're in association with the Moravian Church working on the Sirius Marina Resort project in the protected southeast corner of Coral Bay. And we're hoping with the continuing and welcome input of the community, we'll develop this project for the benefit of the Virgin Islands. Back in 2016, we were recommended by the former Commissioner of DPNR and approved by the legislature for rezoning of the project site. Then, however, we all suffered delays and setbacks from Irma Maria and then COVID. But now with the positive leadership of the Bryant Roach administration, its attention to curtailing the COVID, which it has done well, I believe, and its dedication to improving the marine and hospitality industries and focus on incentivizing tax benefits within the territory, I believe it's all time for us to unite and move forward. And I'm hoping that, I'm asking for your support and the support of the community that we may all come together and move towards your goals and fulfill what I believe to be these laudable goals and incentives.
Thank you for that. Appreciate
Thank you.
that.
And God bless the Virgin Islands.
Good evening, Governor, Deputy Governor, dignitaries all. Thank you very much for what you facilitated with the ferries in the high time of the pandemic with the subsidizing. We are thrilled that we have so many tourists back on the island, but we are concerned because once again we are being sardinized in the ferries. And so can you please organize some other sort of facilitation of funding so that we can have ferries running more than once an hour at particular peak hours? Thank you.
Thank you. Good suggestion. I think we have a problem with the ferries. We had a little Coast Guard issue, and several of the ferries were taken offline. So they're using some subsidizing ferries now from the BVI, which is a whole nother problem. Excuse me. But we're working with them to give them the resources they need. Thank you for that.
Good
Good evening to everyone who's here tonight. Governor Bryant, my question has to do with my precious resources in the Virgin Islands. It appears on the island of St. John, we are under attack. I would like to know your position. Mr. Oreo has not taken down the illegal dock that has been built on our precious shore. You have supported, against the will of the people, the area in Coral Bay. So I would like to know why you have taken this position and your staff in doing what you have done in reference to our precious resources. Thank you.
And thank you for that. The one thing I love about the Virgin Islands is there are all kinds of boards and commissions, but I'm responsible for everything, no matter what anybody else. And as much as I try to stay out of things, people always look for me to make some action. So I think JP has an update, Commissioner Oriel has an update on the dock that's out there. I'm going to tell you what my position is. Popular, unpopular, it is what it is. I'll be a straight shooter. 75% of St. John is a national park. It's preserved. The other 25% of St. John is for St. Johnians to be able to make out a living, have some place to live, have a job without having to go to St. Thomas, and for us to manage in a way that will keep it safe for future St. Johnians. End of statement.
Our next question.
And everybody, my name is Ralph Carbon, St. John resident. My question or comment is dedicated to the police commissioner. I have a concern. I was violated last week. My truck was broken into, lost over $3,000 worth of tools. And upon making a report to the police, I find it like they were lollygagging a lot. And reaching out to the community and having conversation, the general consensus of the people, especially in the black community, is that don't even go to the police because they are not going to do nothing. And I know community policing is very important if you want to build trust around your community and the police. So my question to you is, what are you willing to do to build that trust so that you could have the people at least adhere to the rules and regulations, be good citizens, and not want to feel like they have to take the law into their own hands? Because I was left in a situation where I had to investigate my own case to try to find some of my items that were lost. I did recover some items. I brought the name of the perp to the police since yesterday morning, and up to this present moment, you haven't been called in for questioning or nothing. So I want to know what you are willing to do to try to build back that trust with the people, that they could feel comfortable coming back to the police.
Thank you. Thank you. Ralph, at the end of the day, as I said earlier, enforcement belongs and is the responsibility of the police department. My mantra is very simple: to be firm, but to be fair. At the end of the day, the Virgin Islands Police Department has done a great job in some respects, and we failed in others. It's much simpler for me to just stay here and to tell you this. We've got plans. We've been working on antiquated ways, and when it comes to investigations, especially as it pertains to St. John, we have failed St. John. I've been on the job 6 days. 6 days. But I don't use that as an excuse, because at the end of the day, if it happened 20 years ago, I'm in this seat now. So I'm responsible. Ray Martinez, the commissioner nominee. As of this morning, as we start to move stuff forward, I've already made the change to provide the island of St. John with a deputy chief, an acting deputy chief of police who resides on the island of St. John. Okay? Lieutenant Clayton Brown is now the acting deputy chief of police on St. John. One of the things that we have to understand, and I'm grateful you didn't take the law into your own hands, okay? Because at the end of the day, I'm the type of guy, I don't sugarcoat anything. If you did, I was coming for you, okay? Because one right, or I should say a wrong, doesn't negate the fact that we should go out and do stuff wrong ourselves. I impress upon you and everyone here to understand that where we are moving forward now, you're going to see in short order, you're going to hear of us changing up some of our strategies. We continue to utilize antiquated strategies. We talk about wanting to see boots on the ground, but we're not. We talk it, but we don't do it. You speak about community policing. You're talking about Ray Martinez, who understands, okay, and has spoken for years regarding an amount of strategies that need to be done. I've walked in at a good time in law enforcement where we've got several $1 million to install CCTV cameras, license plate readers. But again, all of these things won't really matter if my boots don't walk up and do the work that is required of you. And I will. And you ask me what I wanted, I intend to do. I intend to lead. Very simple. Okay. I will ensure that my team, my policing team, starts to police St. John and every other island on this territory. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner nominee Martinez. We'll have our next question.
Good evening, Governor Bryant, my fellow St. Johnians and St. Jonians. Thank you for coming to St. John this evening, Governor. It's been a tough year and a half since COVID showed up. Thank you for your leadership during these uncertain times. We on St. John need your help now more than ever. St. John is being overrun by projects and ventures that the people of St. John do not want. And we've already expressed that we do not want them. Does it not matter what the people of St. John want? First off is the gravel parking lot. We told the director of the Virgin Land and Port Authority we did not want a paid parking lot. We have a paid parking lot over there now, after the people of St. John said we did not want it. The people of St. John own that property. We're supposed to be the owners of the Port Authority. We're not supposed to be owned by the Port Authority. That's the first one. Second one is the Cowgirl Bebop, the floating restaurant out here. The people of St. John, we had 2 hearings on that. We did not want the floating restaurant off Flamingo Key. So then that went on. We had a CZM hearing, and CZM said no to it. Then they went to Land Use Appeals Board, and then Land Use Appeals Board went against what the St. John CZM Board wanted. This is water, it's not land. The reason why the St. John CZM Board went against it because it's dangerous out there because of the marine conditions. I live in Livongo Key. I've been out there for 25 years. I know what that water condition's like, and if this venture goes through, it's going to be very dangerous and people are going to get hurt. Finally, you may be aware of the new proposed underwater marine park requesting to lease 40 acres of land 250 feet off the north shore of Livongo Key and 250 feet to the west of Congo Key. Why this has to be placed so close to an inhabited key, then not, say, a mile off of Congo Key, we, the people of Livongo, don't want it. There's ancestral St. Jonians that own property out there. They don't want it. I don't want it. Why is this stuff thrown down our throat? Why are we going to give away our resources? Where we have beautiful, pristine area, we're going to give it away to a commercial entity. We don't need this. We really don't. If we want to keep our tourism alive, this pristine areas are going to bring more people than these underwater and floating bars and all the other stuff. You know, St. John has always been a cultural diversity and has been beautiful all along. But we're losing that because of these projects that we don't want. And the people of St. John are asking not to have these, but we're not being listened to. We need your help at that, please.
You know, I appreciate your sentiments, and you know, I'm a born Virgin Islander, and you know, I'm from Savannah, and you know, I remember running down the street barefoot, short pants every day. 'Cause I had no cars. I remember before we had neighborhood grocery stores, our people used to own them. We used to be the ones who used to make all the money on tourism because we had everything. And then all kind of people come from all kinds of places, and they started owning stuff, and we owned less stuff. And over 50 years, you know, native Virgin Islanders, we hardly own anything. What about what we wanted? What about our heritage and our lineage and what we wanted? Nobody didn't listen to that. You know, I listened to the concerns of people in the development of St. John. And it's the same thing that happened to every single one of our islands. We used to come here when I was a kid, and this was a dirt road, and we'd take the Jeep up and go through the Reef Bay Trail, and then a boat would come around and get us. The speed of development is not powered by the Virgin Islands government. We are a U.S. territory. We're not like Townhall or Anguilla, where Virgin Islanders could tell people, you can't buy land here. You can't do this here, and only Virgin Islanders can own. We didn't have that right. We still don't. We don't set the rules here. The federal government does. We follow them. We set up systems to accommodate people who come from all over. And even in our anthem, we say we welcome one and all. And then people come here for a certain amount of time and then say they've been treated unfairly. Welcome to the club. We've been getting that for over 100 years now. So as we move forward, I think we try to put people on boards and commissions with different backgrounds and different perspectives to make some of these decisions. And people come to these meetings, yes, we could say these set of people know it, but when I hear St. John, I hear 3 different voices all the time. I hear the local people, I hear the snowbirds, and then I hear the transplant that happen to live in St. John. So, you know, it's very confusing to me, and that's why we come out here to hear from you. So I thank you for your input, and all these things will be considered. We're trying to create a marine industry, or reclaim a marine industry in the Virgin Islands, and that's why we're supporting things like having docks in Cruise Bay, because we have boats lining up everywhere, doing more damage, mashing up reefs and stuff without having proper mooring fields. We're trying our best to keep up with the growth of that. Tortola right now closed down. We've experienced incredible economic opportunity getting back our charter boat system, but that comes with problems too. Tortola gonna open up, BVA gonna open up again. How do we keep some of that business so that finally people in St. John, Virgin Islanders don't have to leave from here? They could maybe run a little boat, be a captain, run an excursion, or work in some hotel or a marina here in St. John and build a life for themselves. That's all we're trying to do. So, you know, keep advocating. I'm listening to the voices, and we'll make some decision about what needs to happen. Go ahead, Miss.
Thank you, Governor, for your question, for your response. Just one quick note. If you do not want to ask your question publicly, again, you can provide your question to our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. Kevin Rodriguez, or our Administrator, Mrs. Shakima Jones-Sproul. If you do not want to ask your question publicly, we will look into all of your concerns. Do not think that the information will just be lost in the wind. We thank you again for being here. I see about 4 additional persons who have questions. If you have a question, please make your way to the line. We're going to try again to get in as many questions before we have to wrap up in about less than 20 minutes. So please, again, make your questions as concise as possible. This will not be the last town hall. We will be back. We will have another town hall and additional opportunities for a public forum of this kind.
Good evening. My name is Ivana Shinnery. I'm a 4th-generation native to St. John in the Virgin Islands. I say that in general. I have had a huge concern since I moved back home. And it's not only me, it's people that come and visit and go back where they come from, where we start to feel like the tourists here. We have to leave because we can't afford property here, even in our 20s, when there's a good amount of us that really want to. And we're up against people who own villas who leave and the money doesn't stay in the territory. What programs, and this is to whomever it concerns, not one person in particular, what is being done? What programs, activities, things are being done and communicated to people in my generation or younger as to how they can acquire a piece of something that they could actually start to showcase the culture again? Because it's a domino effect. That goes away, everything else goes away. You have people moving away, generations that don't even know this land. What are you guys doing?
So we have several programs in terms of, I mean, I think it's, the biggest part of that is home ownership. And it's not just St. John. I mean, I grew up in St. Thomas. From 2 big families. Everybody lives in Atlanta. Our family reunions in Atlanta are bigger than in St. Thomas or St. Croix. So it's not only St. John where people moving away, it's every single Virgin Islands. What are we doing? First of all, I talk about the free education at the university. Now, over 75% of the graduates from our high school actually go to school in the Virgin Islands. That's a better chance of them staying. We got several housing programs working. We have buy a lot, build a home, where we put up money, you buy a lot, and we help you build a home. We buy down the cost of a home in order for you to have it. We have several housing developments where we're cutting in the roads and we're doing all the infrastructure. A lot of that is being processed through CDBG. St. John is always a challenge to find property in order to build that, but we're looking for that workforce housing. We have some in Coral Bay, and we have some other sites that we're looking at to purchase, because we believe in allowing for St. Jonians to own their own home right here on the islands. We also have about $10 to $20 million we're going to have in this ARP to assist people who are right above those income limits, because we are controlled by the income limits of the federal government, to be able to buy homes as well. We have $10 million of workforce money, workforce development money that we're using to train young people in different things, whether it's marine, tourism, or the trades, in order to, number one, give young people an opportunity, but in order to prepare the workforce for what we have coming in terms of all of the repairs and all of the construction that's going to be done over the next 10 years. So if you have more suggestions, we clear and open to them. This is one time when we could actually put programs in place to help people and encourage them to stay. We just came back from Atlanta trying to recruit people to live in the Virgin Islands, but we have a serious problem with housing, especially in St. Thomas and St. John. We don't have anywhere to put people. This lady who come up here is a heartbreaking story. One of the first things I did when I came into office was stop the housing authority from evicting people out of homes. If the home is livable and they're in there, I told them, don't tear down another thing until y'all start building. They started building Dunu. We did, we participated in the building of Megan's Bay. We have some work to do on St. Croix as well as on St. John too. I'm sorry to hear that she was evicted. I put on a moratorium for over a year and a half now in evicting people out of their homes because of COVID. I will continue to help and support people. But we can't build these buildings and these homes overnight. It takes time in order to get these projects to fruition. Just in our design, it takes us over a year and a half. Okay, I'm going to shut up so you can ask your question. Go ahead.
And just a note, we do have the press box, and I'm sure we're going to have the governor or even the lieutenant governor again on the press box. That's an opportunity for you to send in questions as well via our social media page. So all of the questions that you have that are still burning, you can utilize that method as well, or contact in any of the offices. And again, we have representatives here tonight who can take your question if we can't get to you tonight. Thank you, ma'am. Your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor and administration, and to our island administrator for organizing this town hall tonight. My name is Kristen Cox, and I'm a property manager here on St. John, and there's a number of us here tonight. I have a question and a statement. So, us as property managers who have villas and are managed for vacationers, there was a piece of paper passed tonight to the St. John Accommodation Council to look at for the review for what the zoning law is for villas and bed and breakfasts and home lodging or lodging homes. So if this law is enforced, that means anyone living in an apartment in an R2 zone, long-term or short-term, is in violation. About a little less than a year and a half ago, you had a town meeting, or a round table rather, at the administrator's office, which we were part of with hotels and different organizations of the community. At that point, Kathy and I showed up to try to work in the regard of villas, because we'd like to work in the progress area to work cohesively with the entire island. We can't have tourism-based economy if we're not going to have villas. It can't be just hotels. Villas have existed before the hotels. Well, I might be wrong there. Keneal might be the first hotel, and then villas started about 45 years ago. Private Homes and Private Vacations was the very first villa management company 45 years ago. So with that, if law, R2 zoning, if this qualifies and is a law that's enforced and people are in violation and people are fined for this, the villas that are here, then we're going to be losing many employees. We're going to be losing hotel taxes. We're going to be losing gross receipts. And the employees that are working for the companies, the tourists that come in, that go to the shops, go to the grocery store, gas station, rent the cars, go to the restaurants, everything, that whole domino effect. We're putting a lot of people out of business, and there's a lot of taxes that are going away. But then the big question here is, how is VRBO and Airbnb and TripAdvisor and these big multi-billion-dollar companies going to come in and still be able to operate and put people in the island when we've been here for years and we put our blood, sweat, and tears into our businesses? I'm a very small business. I'm a transient. I'm a transplant here from the stateside. My daughter is native. She's trying to find something for herself. She can't afford it. She's panicking right now, saying, Mom, it took you 21 years to be able to buy a house. But it was a house that qualified as a HUD house, which I found the needle in the haystack, folks. There are HUD houses in the Virgin Islands. You just have to dig real hard. So with that, how does my daughter now, if I'm put out of business and the rest of us that are property managers put out of business and the employees that work and the subcontractors that work, the domino of everybody from construction to building, how does my daughter find something for herself to be able to stay here in her island roots?
So to answer your question, no, we're not going to enforce it. But I don't have we're not going to fine people. That's what I have to say. I can't say we're not going to enforce it because I don't have the ability to ignore the law. But what I will tell you is it is a problem for us. And what I will tell you is the legislature changed the law. All you need to do is get it changed at the legislature so we don't have to enforce it. But we have to follow the law. So we're looking for a work around this. The industry is not going to be disappeared, but you have to take action too. Call your senator, tell him about the part in the law, and let him write the legislation so we could get it changed. I'll sign it when it comes to Government House.
Ma'am, we have 6 additional persons with questions. Mr. Kevin Rodriguez will take the additional information.
I'll get with Senator Payne and address it, okay? I got you.
We have 6 additional persons. We have 5 minutes. Please ask your questions concisely.
We're gonna let everybody ask their question.
Please ask your questions concisely.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Williams, St. Jonian. Good evening, one and all. I guess one of my questions, but I'm gonna make a statement. As far as the generating situation, I remember when I was a boy, St. John actually had a generator. I remember looking over and seeing St. Thomas in darkness, and we over here had power. So I could see that definitely we have regressed it in St. John. I know it's like it coming back. So this new thing with a generator ain't nothing really new. But more importantly, I don't even know if it's really that important, but the beautification of the port where the car ferries come in, is there a plan for that? Because I was looking at St. Thomas doing all this beautification from the legislature coming up, and we did talk about St. John, and St. John is so expensive, and like we're the high-end island, which we really are, but I don't see the high-end like infrastructure. Where is the high-end infrastructure for St. John? And we's an island that there's a lot of tourists come here, they love here. And St. John is 19.6 square miles. And then out of that 19.6, only 7 point something is the infrastructure of the island because the 60% is national park. That's very small because St. Thomas is 32 square miles. And you subtract the difference, that's like 12 point something square miles. So that's almost like half of what St. John is. So I think that a lot can be done for St. John, being that we're so small and we don't really see That's my question. What are we doing for the beautification, the upgrade of St. John? Are we supposed to be the diamond? They talk about it. Where is it?
I agree with you. You know, no good deed goes unpunished. Goes unpunished. We actually, Public Works is who doing the median in St. Thomas. Innate Palm belongs to the Port Authority. I will talk to Mr. Dow about the beautification there. The parking lot, you know, when I became governor and I passed the parking lot, it was just full of derelict cars, all kind of junk cars. The junk cars is a serious problem for us in the Virgin Islands. I called Mr. Dow, I said, listen, you need to clean up the place. But if he cleaned up the place and he just left it, by now it looked just like how it looked before. So I know people are either having charges for the parking lot is controversial, but it's, once again, the government is trying to do the best. Shakima, we had to get a barge to take up all the junk cars. And the year later, it's the same situation. St. John is special, St. Thomas and St. Croix, same problem with the junk. I don't know where they're coming from. But I'll speak to Mr. Dow about investing in St. John's Innate Pond and doing some beautification around there. We got some other stuff that we can do if the community recommends. We really try and get through this on the grounding of the Wapa lines through Cruz Bay before we start to do anything else, because that makes a mess. We've had it in St. Thomas. We got it now in Frederickstead and Christiansted and St. Croix, and now we need to underground it here. I think she...
Quickly also with beautification, if any of you know of an artist that can send me a sketch, that wall right by School Food on Fish Fry Road, I would like to see that wall beautified, saying welcome to Love City, because the Commissioner of Public Work has gotten that fund to build that retaining wall on that road for us to fix that road. So I want to see that area really clean up. So if you know of anyone, y'all can link me up, okay?
Go ahead.
My name is Lisa Penn. And my question is probably mostly for DPNR. I was up in that area some time ago, and the library, historical building named after a prominent St. Jonian, I was appalled at the condition of the library. I know it's not open, but I don't think it needs to look so badly on the outside. So I want to know if there's any plans to fix up that, at least clean up the outside so it could look a little decent. And that too, yes.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. So yes, there is a plan, and I'm glad you raised the question. So earlier this April, actually, we put out a competitive bid for the repairs, for the landscaping, for the painting, for the Elaine Ione Sproul Library to be done. We received 2 bids. Both of them were significantly over the budgeted amount from what we received for FEMA. So we are re-releasing the bids after actually including some additional monies. But the reason why, what I am imploring for all of you on St. John, your contractors and such, please become vendors in the government of the Virgin Islands so that we don't have only the large companies that are bidding the projects and then subcontracting them to the smaller companies and charging a serious overhead. That's why these costs are driving up. This is a project that can be done by the contractors on the island of St. John, but there were no St. John bidders when this went out in April and May. So thank you for the question, and please, contractors, understand what the rules and regulations are for being a vendor with the government. There are a number of projects that are ready for bid, and we're asking you to please keep them in mind and submit your interests.
Thank you, Commissioner Oriol. We have 3 final questions. The lady in the floral dress will be our final question for the night. We have 3 final questions.
Good evening, Governor. Good evening, Governor. My name is Savannah Loftus. I'm a St. John resident and artist and photographer on island for the last 10 years, so I'm definitely not a ancestral Virgin Islander. I did find a piece from 8 years ago of Guy Benjamin School, where I photographed the kids celebrating their new computer lab and the accomplishments that were happening over there and the success in Coral Bay. Of course, fast forward to today, it feels like a big pink elephant in the room. I don't even know who to direct the question to because I don't see anyone from the Department of Education here. But When will that school be built?
The school in Coral Bay?
A K
I don't
through
think there's
12 school for St. John.
Oh, the K-12. Right now, we're in the process of getting that property over there. We still haven't settled with FEMA on the replacement cost for Guy Benjamin. I mean, not Guy Benjamin, Sproul here in Cruz Bay. So, you know, I don't see that school building for at least another 5 years. Completed.
That's 2 generations of.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, if we walk up the street, you see the children are learning in shipping containers, and literally no natural light from air-conditioned spaces. I have a degree in architecture. I understand what it means and what it needs to happen for children to learn effectively. And it's terrible. We're watching the population drop, and I hear that the diaspora is growing larger. There's more Virgin Islanders in the United States than there are here on island, and it's because they don't have a place for their children to go to school.
Right.
Even paying for going to Gift Hill, that education is subpar too compared to most public schools in the United States. I love Gift Hill. I'm hating on Gift Hill, but I have substitute taught also inside of Gift Hill, and there needs to be a pride. There needs to be an invigoration inside of what I've talked to children. A young man last month, actually, he works right here. He's 16 years old. He graduated 2 years early. He lives in Coral Bay. Sorry. And he told me his story every day, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to come down that hill, to catch the bus, to come all the way to go to St. Thomas for school.
But I understand.
That's all. It's just a school
No,
for the kids, and I feel like it's shrinking, and someone needs to be here for the kids, because there's not going to be a future for Native Virgin Islanders if school is better in the States.
And we understand. I think we understand what the problem is. But I want to take this opportunity to explain too that when Miami get a hurricane, right? The state of Florida rebuilds everything. Then they fight with FEMA. The Virgin Islands, FEMA is a reimbursable program. The Virgin Islands would never have enough money for us to build anything and fight with FEMA later. And that's why other recoveries move along. Just for instance, John Arthur Richards School, which was damaged by the storm, the FEMA replacement cost is $145 million. The Virgin Islands could never front the $145 million, build a school, and then fight with FEMA for 10 years. And people ask why the recovery is going slow. Because in a reimbursement program, you don't have the ability. A small place like this, when we get a storm, it's not only St. John damages every single island. We don't even have the money before to support the maintenance in the school. So we're going through this process and we're getting the money together in order to be able to build the schools.
Photographer. Last month I photographed a beautiful wedding. Up to 14 people are allowed in this space. And they charge $50,000 a week. And they're booked completely solid for the next year. The amount of obscene wealth in these spaces, raise the taxes 50% on these owners who don't live here. That's the fifth home of that owner.
That tax don't raise just on the people here, though. On the people visiting. It raises on every Virgin Islander because you can't discriminate by who you're going to put a tax on. Yes, ma'am.
Good night. My name is Kayla Anthony. So my question is, with the increase of tourists here on the island, we've been having a lot of issues with the tourists traveling on the ferries. My main question is to the police commissioner. What protocols are you going to put in place to have maybe like a port officer or a police officer 24/7 here on the St. John dock? Because just the security guard itself, they don't have the tools as a port officer or a police officer to handle the issues that take place here on the ferry dock.
Thank you for raising your question, and it's interesting that you would ask that question because I think just Friday of last week That was one of the issues that the governor and our chief of staff raised to me to sit in dialogue with the Port Authority regarding not just the increase our policing presence on the docks, but also at the airport and in certain other areas as well. But it's something that's on the front burner. It's a priority, and in short order, we're going to take that up and have that dialogue and implement a plan.
So we've been working with Mr. Dawa, the Port Authority. Shakima to be on the phone with him every COVID call, expressing that we need to have somebody from the Port Authority on the dock, especially on Friday and Saturday nights when people getting drunk and on the boats. So we try and address not only there, Red Hook and other places where we just see a proliferation of tourists who don't understand the rules we are under. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Pam Gaffin. I'm one of those white people that have stayed around too long and caused trouble at every meeting. You probably know me. I've said this in the past, that I would like you to have your next meeting in Coral Bay, because then maybe they would do road maintenance on Centerline Road, as they have done quickly in the park to get ready for you to come. Every time you come, things happen. But so Centerline Road, which I know FEMA approved for a lot of landslides they were supposed to have approved, all of the places where the road has disappeared is falling down the cliff, and the landslides on the other side. We also have tons of tourists, and there's no lines. Even the newest part of Centerline Road only has a center line, not the two white lines on the edge. For us to have a road in such a state of disrepair, when we are offering this fabulous tourism product that we want the whole world to come see, and they can't stay on the right side of the road because there's no center line, and the potholes are unbelievable. When I know St. Thomas has paved roads, I know St. Croix is getting paved roads. I've seen them. I've driven on them. When do we get our center line road, our only road? We only got one.
Great.
When are we going to get it?
Good evening, Ms. Gaffin. Thank you for the first question. I thought I came for no reason, but I appreciate it. So, of course, you did mention we do have a DOI grant. We are expecting to go out on to bid by the end of August to fix Centerline Road. So you should, excuse me? Some of it. I don't have the exact mileage, but we're going to be fixing the areas of Grunwald and Pastory. That'll be included in that DOI grant money. Additionally, we've submitted to reconstruct and extend Centerline Road, so it covers not only the entire cruise, well, goes from Cruise Bay all the way out to the end of Coral Bay. So I do want to thank the current administrator and the former administrator for that, because we've been talking about it. And that project is estimated to be about $25 million, and will be including not only drainage, fixing the culverts, putting in additional bus stops, because we do want to make that road, to your point, sustainable for the next 10, 20, 30 years down the road. That one, I mean, right now, I think the action plan is before HUD, so we're expecting to hear back in another 30 days. And then from there, I should be able to report back to you with a timeline, Ms. Gaffin. Right now, I mean, we're just, I think all of us up here are stuck waiting for HUD to review our action plan and give us a final approval so we can get that next tranche of projects out there. Okay. I mean, before we leave, I'd love to get your information. Maybe we could talk about it. I appreciate that. Yeah, so that's the project that we were talking about is also, I just want to make it clear. Centerline Road is a federal highway. Excuse me? Correct. And we do want to make sure that we're using our federal money to address our federal highways, so that we can use our local roads, our local money to address our local roads, which are in way worse shape. But again, I'll take your information and we could talk about getting a timeline of the fact. Thank you.
Okay, so again, our commissioner is willing to take your information. I'm going to have in just a moment a contact number for our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. Rodriguez, so that he can take your additional questions and things that we need to follow up on, especially if you didn't want your question publicly shared. What I'm going to do right now as we wrap up, that was the last question, I'm going to allow, because they were all here, they took their time out of their busy schedules to be present. Just closing thoughts, less than a minute, to all of our commissioners who are here today. And then, of course, we'll have some closing thoughts very briefly by our Lieutenant Governor and Governor. So I'm going to start with our Commissioner of DLCA, Commissioner Evangelista.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for coming out. We know you have a choice in where you go on a Wednesday evening. We thank you for coming out to us. But real quickly, St. John, I'd like to say thank you very much for working with the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. And I'm happy to announce that we have a St. John coordinator now sitting in the office and the Battery. And we also have a deputy commissioner. So Deputy Commissioner is Ms. George, who's here. And the full-time St. John coordinator is Ms. Abbott. Having said that, that means we have boots on the ground. And of course, if you cannot get through to anyone, I'm giving you the straight line into my office. We have an open door, and I was scheduled to have a town hall meeting here tomorrow evening to address issues strictly related to DLCA, but I knew after tonight's appearance of the governor and the lieutenant governor, nobody would appear. So we're going to reschedule, but the number is 340-725-5129, 340-725-5129. Comments, criticisms, questions, whatever you have, I have an open door. We're here to make it happen for you, all right? Thank you, St. John, for all you do for DLCA.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Evangelista. We're going to have final closing thoughts by our commissioner nominee, Mr. Martinez. And just to let you know, we have a show via social media called Inside the Cabinet, and up next, it's every Wednesday, up next we're going to have Commissioner nominee Mr. Martinez, so you can hear more from him on Wednesday, Inside the Cabinet.
Again, thank you, St. John, for coming out. Thank you for those individuals who asked the questions. Again, I really understand the importance of safeguarding our community. Again, we've done a great job in some respects, and we haven't done the best job in others. The issue here is to ensure that we have a plan moving forward. Strategies are my forte, so I do have a plan. You're going to see the fruits of our labors. You're going to experience the fruits of our labor. We are going to start to police in the manner we need to police, in the manner that we owe you, to safeguard each and every St. Jonian, as well as each and every other citizen and visitor to our shores. Thank you again for having me this evening, and I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now hear our final closing thoughts from Commissioner Gabriel.
Good evening once again. I just want to, of course, thank you guys for welcoming me to St. John. Of course, I do want to, before I go further, I do want to recognize our staff here on St. John, who do a yeoman's job with not having a lot of resources, led by Mr. Darren Jordan. He does a fantastic job. And of course, our de facto assistant commissioner, who's also the administrator, Ms. Shikima Jones. So folks, I just want to ask you two things. Have some trust in us and be a little patient. It is a long process, like the governor said. In order to expend these federal dollars, it does take putting a program into place. And we are finally getting to the point where we're seeing those dollars go into construction for you. Just have a little patience with us. Just since the beginning of the year, the Department of Public Works has about $70 million in obligated PWs. So we're trying to expeditiously get those into procurement and get them into construction to work for the people of the territory. St. John, we have not forgotten you. You are there. Of course, we have our Fish Fry Road, which is coming up. That'll be going into design soon, and then that'll be going into construction. I just ask for the patience because we're trying to make sure the roads are designed properly to include the drainage so that they last for a long time. We don't want to be coming back, Ms. Gaffin, to deal with this again in another year or two. So have a little patience, have trust, and be sure that we will build back the territory bigger and better than ever. Thank you again, and I look forward to coming back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Gabriel. We'll now have final thoughts from Commissioner Oriol.
Good evening, everyone, again, and thank you for the invitation to being here with you all. Like Commissioner Gabriel said, we're asking for your trust, for your patience. Change is not overnight. Changes take time to implement, but the Brian Roach administration is doing its efforts to make sure that we're building back better, stronger, and we're not forgetting the island of St. John. There's a lot of different things that are going to be moving, particularly with the department over the next several months. So please bear with us. But please also remember that we are there for you. Contact the department. Any comments, any questions, we're here to serve. Again, thank you very much and have a good evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Oriol. And we actually have a special guest that's going to share just a few remarks from the Department of Education. We have our Chief Operating Officer, Mrs. Dion Wells-Hendrington.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on the Big Island. I call it a Big Island. This is my island. It's home. And I just wanted to address the one question in regards to education. I am quite aware of the traveling. I remember doing that myself, getting up at 4. I don't want the community to feel as though St. John is being overlooked. My job is as the Chief Operations Officer, I'm responsible for the disaster-related projects. And if anybody knows me, the governor could tell you, St. John will not be left out. It's a process. It's a process. We have to work the process that's before us with FEMA. Like the governor explained, we do not have the money to put up front. When we did the costing for the new build-out for Sproul, we're looking at close to $135 million. We don't have that type of revenue available at this moment to start any type of construction, and we're still under negotiations for the land. So I'm asking for your patience. I'm asking for you to put your trust in me, because that's one thing I will see before I depart from the Department of Education. It is due time for us to have a school on St. John. I remember sitting on many committees 20 plus years ago, designing a school, talking about a school, watching my children traverse to high school in St. Thomas, and it's time. It is time for us to do our due diligence for the community of St. John. It is time for us to do right by the children of St. John. So look forward to that. That will be a reality. We're asking for your patience and your indulgence as we go through the process. There's no way to circumvent the process. We have to go through it. And so we're working in tandem with the negotiations for the costing of the new school, as we're working with the national park to acquire the land. So as that project worksheet becomes available, then we'll be able to start with the design and everything else. And of course, we will come out to the community to get your input. So thank you, and just keep positive. Don't bring the negative energy in. We will get it done on behalf of the children of these Virgin Islands. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Wells-Hendrington from the Department of Education. And I'd like to say again, thank you to our Commissioner of the Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs. Thank you to our Commissioner nominee of the Virgin Islands Police Department. Thank you to our Commissioner of the Department of Planning and Natural Resources. And thank you to our Commissioner of the Department of Public Works. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to have our closing remarks from the Lieutenant Governor of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Tragenza A. Roach, Esquire.
Thank you, Shayla, and I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight, and to ask you, when we have events like this in the future, to please come out. I wanted to, the young woman who asked the question about what are we doing so that people can own land on St. John, and really speaking to the transformation of this island. I know I look younger than I am, right? But 48 years ago, I started high school at the Charlotte Amalia High School. And that was the occasion that I met the friends that I made on St. John. And they came from the Hendricks and Sproul and Sewer families. My classmate right there, who was the former Commissioner of Tourism, Pamela Richards,
And that's when I began spending time in St. John. And the question is an important one. And an even more important one is, how do we help those who have remained? And how do we help people hold on to their land? Because not one, except one, there's only one of those persons who still lives on St. John. Of those people who went to school with me, native St. Johnians of generations, there's only one. Abigail Hendricks is the only one. There are a couple of the Sproul brothers, their brother Wilbur, he lived here and then he left as well. And so it is a tremendous question, and some of the things that the governor stated are important to also understand, because there is no monolith. There will be projects that native St. Johnians will support and other native St. Johnians will oppose. And the question of how we deal with this 25% of this land, a very, very important question. So when I come here and people are impassioned, like Ms. Monsanto or Ms. Gaffin or all the other people whose names I can't call off right now, nobody should be turned off by that passion, because I think it comes from that place of wonderment and that place of commitment of trying to retain some character. My good friend, Mr. Julius Sproul, who you don't see as much in some of these meetings, but always used to be present, you know, speaks to me about the time when a native St. Johnian would go off to school and the entire village would be down here in the dock, sending that person off and making sure that they were sent off with the sentiment that would make them return. And the challenge of maintaining this space is a difficult one. But we need you, and we need that commitment to continue. And I just really want to thank you, because to see the crowd of people out here tonight is really heartwarming. And we just want to continue to work on your behalf. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor Roach. And now for our closing remarks from our Governor of the Virgin Islands, the Honorable Albert Bryant, Jr.
Good evening again, everybody. I hate speaking after the Lieutenant Governor because he does it so well every time. It's like, how do you finish after that? But I do want to say thank you for coming out. And, you know, I love the engagement. One of the things that I miss about from COVID is being able to walk the streets and hug people and talk to them about their very, very deep concern for the problems that we have in the Virgin Islands. But they're not new problems. They're problems that we've been dealing with for a number of years. Tonight we heard a couple of new ones that we need to deal with. And yeah, I get just as frustrated as you. When I go into the meetings with people and they tell me about all the 20 different excuses why we can't get this road paved. But when I stop and I listen, I understand where it's coming from. And when I drive on roads that in the last election were paved very hurriedly, and now those roads full of potholes, the paint disappearing, when those repairs are supposed to last for 20 years. And when I drive on new roads with the correct drainage and I see the water running off and everything staying intact, it was worth the wait. We have so many different projects to do. Over 1,600 project worksheets in the Virgin Islands. But we have to get them done. We have to get them done together. The good news is we have the opportunity to build it back better. And by having these kinds of forum and being able to engage, I understand your passion with Virgin Islanders. You can never understand whether we fighting or we loving. We make a lot of noise. I appreciate that because it means you care. We're not always going to agree, but especially on St. John, I'm going to always make myself available to be here to listen to what you say, take back what you say and take the notes and try to do something. I'm going to drive on your roads and shop in your grocery stores. I'm going to feel the pain of moving from one island to the next and listen to the stories of how it costs $150 to take your 4 kids to the movies in St. Thomas. Some of the things that we take for granted. I appreciate your passion. But who feels it knows it. You know it. But it's not only us. There are things that need to be changed in the law. please help us work with the legislature. We're right behind you advocating for those changes. There are things that we need to change administratively. Call us, email us. These people, they work for you. They don't work for me. They work for the Virgin Islands. We're here and available for you to hear what you need to do. We have the ability to do a number of things. And we're running out of ideas, so we're looking for you to give us even more. But we can't do them all at one time. We simply don't have the capacity in terms of manpower, machinery, and equipment. My greatest fear is what is coming in the Virgin Islands. In the 1970s, we tripled our population because we had an explosion of tourism and commerce, oil refineries and watch factories and pharmaceutical. That time is coming again. Our cost of inflation has gone up tremendously since the storms. And as we start to rebuild the territory, it's going to get even worse. I'm trying to do the things that not only address the things that we need today, like paved roads, but able to manage the things that are going to come, like a lot of people moving here, the cost of construction, making home ownership further away, the overcrowding of our schools, the overloading of our healthcare systems, all of that we're managing at the same times. So bear with us, as they say, but work with us as we try to bring a better St. John and certainly a better Virgin Islands to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor. And he mentioned calling us, and we're going to share cell number. So it's not an office number, so you're going to have it ring, ring, ring. All right? So as I mentioned, we had our Deputy Chief of Staff, Mr. Kevin Rodriguez. He took some of your questions and concerns. Grab a pen and a paper real quick or put it in your phone. 340-227-3748. 340-227-3748. The additional questions, the additional concerns that you have, if something was not answered, if there was a department that you had a question for who was not here tonight, we can also assist in facilitating how you can get information for that question. And then send it as a text. Mr. Rodriguez says send it as a text. Okay, just text him. Text him your questions, concerns, or how he can get in touch with you. And our administrator, Mrs. Shakima Jones-Sproul.
You switched it. Oh, okay. The other thing I want to say, in the whole Virgin Islands, I get the most emails, not per capita, the most emails from St. Jonians. And I answer all of them. Right, Sharon? I see her back there somewhere. I get the most emails from St. Jonians, more than Crucians or St. Thomians, so keep writing. We're going to get your questions answered. albert.bryan@vi.gov. It's public information. I answer my own emails. Thank you.
And then right here on St. John, we have our St. John administrator, Mrs. Shakima Jones-Sproul. Her number, 340-474-5762. That's 340-474-5762. And just a few final things. Tonight's event could not be possible without the assistance of everyone behind the scenes, the staff of the Office of the Governor, the staff of the Office of the Lieutenant Governor, the St. John Administrator's Office, and of course, a few kind individuals. Our sound system, Mr. Malcolm Sprout Jr., our bar stools, Cruise Bay Landings, our internet connection, Love City Connect, our tent setup, Canil Bay and the Department of Public Works, ICE from Wapa, Tables, Jackson LLC Event Rentals, Mass, St. John, is it Eco Station, our Virgin Islands Fire Service, our Virgin Islands Police Department, Department of Licensing and Consumer Affairs, and the Department of Health. And then a few final things. We are, of course, encouraging everyone to get vaccinated. You can do so at the St. John Wellness Center or CBC on St. Thomas. We want to make sure that you tune in to the governor's press briefings on Mondays. A lot of information that is very valuable to you will be shared on Mondays. We have a look into the Administrator Corner every Tuesday. We have Inside the Cabinet every Wednesday. As I mentioned before, Commissioner nominee Mr. Ray Martinez will be up next, and the Press Box every other Thursday. And last but not least, we announced our first 2 winners for the Vax to Win $100,000 prize. And we had 2 winners. Actually, I think one is a St. Jonian who won. One is a St. Jonian who won $100,000 and also a Crucian. So that website, vax2winusvi.com, for more information. If you're vaccinated, you're automatically added to that pool to win $100,000. And the next winners will be on Monday, July 26th at the Government House press briefing. I do believe that's all of my... Vaccination is at the gravel lot on Wednesdays. That's every Wednesday. Every Wednesday from 1 to 4 at the gravel lot if you want to get vaccinated. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. I do apologize for having to be the time police. We do understand that your concerns are very near and dear to your heart. And as the governor said, we get passionate about these concerns because you live here, you work here, this is home. So please utilize the resources that we have shared tonight. Make sure that you reach out to our respective departments who are responsible for the various areas that you have concerns. So we thank you for joining us tonight and for staying the entire night. We want to make sure that you get home safely. Please continue to wear your mask. Please continue to be safe. It was confirmed the Delta variant is in the Virgin Islands, so we need to all do our part. Have a wonderful night, and thank you so much for joining us.